What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in today. And we're going to go over my favorite little toy here. My favorite little top snake, the Bauer 23-foot auto feed electric drain cleaner, found at Harbor Freight. It's now at $89.99, guys. That price is a freaking steal for this little puppy here. This thing goes from 0 to 560 RPMs, and that is better than the Milwaukee M12 drain cleaner, the Milwaukee M18 drain cleaner, the DeWalt 20-volt drain cleaner, and it's better than the Rigid K30 that you can find at Home Depot for $230, guys. The M12 is $250, and the M18 Milwaukee drain cleaner is like $375. The DeWalt I think is like $250 also. So for just a fraction of the price, yeah, it's not cordless, but it's got a 12-foot cord, GFI protected. This thing's a badass, guys. So today we're going to go into how to change the cable. I recently loaned out my favorite little beauty here to another friend of mine in the trade, and I got that call that nobody ever wants to get when they loan a tool out. Help! So I came and I saw right as I pulled up that he had shot the drain up through the vent and wrapped around a vent stack, and just completely mangled the cable. So I ended up having to change the cable. I took some video of that, and I'll show that to you guys. But for now, we're going to change I'm going to show you how I changed the cable. And it's super easy, guys. It makes this machine even more attractive, to be honest with you. How easy changing this cable is. I mean, all machines should be this easy. I freaking loved it, guys. So you're going to want to remove the 6 Phillips screws that tie the front half with the auto feed on it to the back half, the drill half. And then you're just going to pop it apart. It pops apart real easy, real smooth. No issues there. And definitely want to make sure this thing's unplugged when you do this, obviously. So another really cool thing here is how the drum is held on to the auto feed. I just loved it. It's so easy to take apart and so easy to change this cable. It's like, I was honestly considering buying the new Spartan 81. And I mean, that's still on my mind, but this thing is just so attractive to me right now. I'm like, for the money and everything, why not just keep it? I mean, and if anything goes wrong with it, like really wrong, I'll just replace it. So, the only thing I have negative to say about this thing is I had it completely apart recently, and I took the auto feed apart and everything, so I could clean everything out and re-grease and lube everything. And the auto feed was really corroded, and so was some parts of the motor. So I ended up cleaning all that up. But I will say, in 2 months, I don't think it should have been that corroded, and that shows it's not really quite professional grade, but it's there. So the drum just pops right off of the front half like that. I mean, it's only held on by this I can't think. It's like a bearing, and this bearing actually just kind of squeezes into the thick plastic that Bauer used for this machine. And that plastic's actually really durable, guys. I mean, I've dropped this machine quite a few times. I left the side door to my truck open once or twice, and it just fell right out onto the street. Didn't even crack, nothing. I mean, this thing's durable. So on the original cable, there's this really thick bulb towards the end of the cable. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut this cable right about here. You just want to make sure you cut the head off, the bulb. Make sure you cut the cable, pull the half that you cut out, and then remove the rest of the cable from the drum. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's not a big deal. It takes a minute, but you pull the rest of the cable out of the drum. All right, now that we've got the whole thing apart. The cable is ready to go in. We're going to go ahead and install the new 1/4 inch by 25 foot cable. I'll put the brand that I used up on the screen and a link in the description for you guys, because this is a really good cable. It had a really nice drop head. So you're going to go ahead and just shove that through the auto feed there. You don't have to take the auto feed apart or anything. Literally, the only thing you had to unscrew to replace this cable was 6 Phillips screws. I mean, can you imagine that? Guys, in the field, I mean, if this thing ever jams up on you or anything, think how easy it's going to be to just pull it apart. It's not like the K30, the rigid. It's nothing like any of that stuff. So anyways, since we don't have that thick bulb on the end of this cable like the original cable that came with the machine had to prevent it from running through the auto feed, what we're going to do is we're going to put a nice little bend on the end of this cable, only on the very end. And that's going to prevent it from running easily through the auto feed. And you'll know, I mean, as a plumber, you should probably know before this. And most plumbers probably, aren't, I mean, I very rarely use more than maybe 15 feet of my 25-foot cable. Very, very rarely, very seldom does that happen. This machine is not meant to unclog crazy stoppages, guys. It's basically just meant for your bathroom sinks, your showers, and your bathtubs. So anyways, once you get that bend on the end, it also helps to feed the cable in. So make sure that cable's going around inside the drum. It's not flipping over, tying up on itself, or anything like that. And this is why getting a nice quality cable is important, guys. And again, this cable, I picked it up at Ferguson Plumbing Supply for I think it was like $30 or something like that. Now, when I bought it, I was under the impression that the machine was $130, but now that I know that the machine is only $90, I don't know. I may end up just buying a new machine next time. I don't know. I'm not sure. It all depends, because I know most of these cables at your retail Home Depots are, I think, around $60. So if that's the case, I mean, you're better off just buying the new new top snake at Harbor Freight for about $90, because like I said, I've had it for 2 months, and when I took it apart, it had a decent amount of corrosion, which was a little disappointing, but it was good for me to know that all I need to do now is every 2 months take it apart and clean it. It's not a big deal. So you're going to feed your cable in. Make sure that it's looping around clockwise. It's very important, guys. And again, this system for feeding the cable in here was really easy. I mean, I think they could probably have a better design for this. I'm not sure. It was super easy, though. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but, I feel like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I may try doing this without me doing it by hand. I may try auto feeding it in. I just don't know that the auto feed and the motor would have enough strength to feed it back in like how I had to here. I'm not sure. I'm going to try that. Okay, so you just want to continue feeding in your cable. Once you've got the cable all the way in the drum, you're just going to push down, the auto feeding mechanism here on top of the drum. You'll feel that, that bearing there tighten in. And I put some plumber's grease on that bearing. First, I hit it with some WD-40, and then I put some plumber's grease kind of on the outside of the bearing so that it's easier to slip in and out if I ever need to pop the thing out again, so that it stays nice and smooth in there. And then when you tighten this piece back together, when you tighten the drill back to the auto feeding front, you want to make sure that little light bulb looking thing is on the very top, and all your screws line up. I feed all my screws in by hand, and I would recommend just feeding them in with the Phillips screwdriver. That way you don't cross thread anything or crack anything. But I use the impact driver because I have this Milwaukee impact driver that I'm able to control the speed on, and I just set it down to the lowest speed and I tighten them in that way, which is, pretty much like using a screwdriver at that point. I'm not really impacting the screws in, just making sure that they're nice and tight. And again, I mean, this is just such a cool feature about this drill. I know it's all I can think of are positives with this thing. It's really, really cool, the fact that you can change this cable so quickly. I mean, come on, guys. I made a whole video about changing this cable, and we're already done like in 10 minutes with changing the cable. The whole cable, guys. I mean, that's really impressive. I can't tell you how many times I've had to change cables on other machines, and it took, I mean, a decent amount of time. There were times where I had to change the cable on the K30 when I had the Raging K30. I mean, I would change that cable, I felt like, at least once every 3 months, just because the machine just wasn't the greatest machine. It constantly had problems. I don't think it had enough torque, so it was constantly binding up inside the drum. There was just so many problems, and I haven't had those problems with this machine yet. The only problem I had was non-related to the machine. It was just from plumber's inexperience. So, I mean, there's really no downside to this thing that I've found so far, guys, other than the fact that, like I said, when I had it completely pulled apart, there was some corrosion built up on the inside of the auto feed and some built up inside the little mechanism that spins the drum. But, I put some CLR to clean off the corrosion. I, lubed it up, greased it up, did everything I needed to do to bring it back to basically factory standard or better. And, so yeah, I mean, it really did add a little bit of weight. And these are all parts that could probably be remanufactured. I like the fact that it has more RPMs, and you could have even its competitors, a better even machine, though it is corded, like I said. But it's got 12-foot GFI cord. It looks nice. I like the reverse and forward right there on above the trigger, like a normal drill. The drill's easy. The trigger's easy to pull. I like the auto feed feature, the handle right there. That makes it kind of like a machine gun handle. It's really easy to operate, even with the new cable. The new cable's a little bit more rigid. It's a little bit more sturdy than the old original cable. But so, I mean, you do need to put a little bit more pressure on the auto feed. It doesn't just, it doesn't work as easily as it used to with the more floppy cable. But, I mean, I think that's not a big deal at all, the fact that you have to just put a little bit more pressure on the auto feed. I don't see that as a downside at all, especially the fact that this cable is above and beyond better than the cable that came with the machine. I just love this machine. It's got all, you can rotate the drum at different speeds. It's not all out or nothing. It's from 0 to 560 RPMs. I'm going to do a demonstration on how long it takes to reel the cable back into the drum from being pretty much all the way out. And I'll be doing that demonstration in just a minute. But other than that, just wanted to talk again about the design really quickly on this machine here. It's just such a cool design. I mean, you will not see any of the competitors looking nearly as cool or operating really nearly as well. I mean, you can get obviously quarter-inch machines that work better than this, but you're going to spend $500-600, or at least quadruple what you're spending on this machine. And I will be doing reviews on the Milwaukee drain machines at some point, but at this point, this is the machine that I'm using. This is the machine I recommend to anybody from beginner because, I mean, you've got room to learn on this thing. If you break it, it's not the end of the world. All the way up to professional. So I'm a professional. I'm in the field. I use this in the field. This is my top snake. This is what I use. All of my bathroom sink drains, all of my shower drains, all of my tub drains, anything that's, not going to be heavily impacted with any type of like serious debris. I mean, only hair and, stuff like that. I don't want to put this cable into anything that could potentially have roots or anything that, has any type of really thick food buildup or anything like that, because I don't think this thing, it may clear it, but I don't want to risk messing up the cable on something like that. And I have the proper machine for that type of application that just, breaks right through stuff like that. So I'm not worried about that. This machine here, I strictly use for like hair stoppages and really soft stoppages, stuff like that. Again, you probably could clear kitchen sink drains if it's a real soft stoppage, or you go at it for a long time with this thing, especially if you have the newer cable in it, the one that I put in. But if you've got the original cable, you're probably not going to have much luck on that. And I would stay away from that because you would probably ruin the newer cable. This cable has a drop head. It's perfect. It's awesome. There's nothing but good things to say about this cable. And this cable, in combination with this machine, makes this machine a better machine. So I definitely recommend changing the cable if you're going to be using this to clear a lot of drains. I've cleared hundreds of drains with this thing in the couple months that I've owned it. And I will tell you, with the new cable, it is much, much easier, and I'm much, much more confident that I am going to clear a drain and not get some type of callback. So this is my review on the Top Snake, guys. I hope you found it helpful.